A 12-year-old boy stood shivering on a riverbank, his life about to change in ways he could not have dreamed. By the next evening, a whole tribe would gather at his doorstep, bearing gifts that would turn a lonely orphan into something far greater than he ever imagined. If you are watching this on your screen, take a moment to hit follow or share. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Now, let us dive into how it all began. Jasper Kane crouched by the churning river, scooping murky water into a battered tin mug. Rain had pounded the mountains for days, swelling the current into a beast that snatched at anything in its path. At his age, Jasper had learned to spot trouble in the water's restless dance, the way it tugged branches under without a second chance. His stomach twisted with hunger. 2 days since anything substantial had passed his lips. Behind him, the crumbling shack he called home offered no comfort, just splintered boards and faded memories. His parents' graves, somewhere upstream, had long been erased by floods like this one. A faint moan drifted from across the river, barely audible over the water's roar. Jasper squinted through the morning fog. There, on the far bank, an old man in traditional native clothing struggled against the current, his silver braids swinging as he clutched a stick for balance. His left leg dragged uselessly, water creeping up to his chest. "Help!" The man's voice cracked, weak but desperate. Jasper's first instinct was to bolt. Out here, strangers spelled danger, and danger could mean the end. But the man's eyes locked onto his, mirroring the hollow ache Jasper saw in his own reflection each day. The old man slipped, his stick ripped away by the river's grip. His head vanished beneath the muddy surface. Without a second thought, Jasper plunged into the icy torrent. The current hit him hard, twisting his small frame like a leaf. He fought, lungs screaming, until his fingers grazed the man's shirt. Clinging tight, Jasper hauled them both toward the bank, his skinny arms burning with a strength he did not know he had. They collapsed in the mud, gasping for air. The old man's dark eyes met Jasper's, filled with something warm and unfamiliar. "Thank you, young one," he rasped, touching his chest. "I am White Owl." He pointed at Jasper. "You are my kin now." Jasper helped White Owl stand, letting the elder lean on him as they climbed the slick embankment. The stick was gone, swallowed by the river, but White Owl seemed to draw strength from Jasper's presence. "My people," White Owl said, nodding toward the distant peaks. "I must go back to them." Jasper just nodded, unsure what that meant. For the first time in months, he was not alone. Unseen eyes watched from the shadows of the trees, but neither boy nor elder noticed. The shack offered little shelter, just a leaky roof and warped floors, but it was all Jasper had. White Owl limped inside, leaving a trail of mud and blood from his injured leg. Jasper glanced at his hidden stash under a loose floorboard, a chunk of stale bread, some dried peas, a pinch of salt. "Sit here," he said, guiding White Owl to the only chair that still held together. The old man's breaths came short and sharp, his face pale beneath weathered skin. White Owl's sharp gaze took in the bare walls, the ash-filled fireplace, the tattered blanket where Jasper slept. "You live here by yourself?" he asked. Jasper nodded, a flush of shame creeping up his neck. What must this man think of a kid scraping by in a rotting hovel? 8 months, Jasper mumbled, pulling up the floorboard to grab the bread. It looked worse in the light, speckled with green, but he held it out anyway. "Since my folks passed from fever." White Owl took the bread with a reverence that made it seem like a feast. He broke off a small piece and pushed the rest back. "Keep it," he said firmly. "You need to stay strong." They ate in silence, the bread tough and bitter. Jasper watched White Owl, expecting pity or scorn, but found only respect in the old man's eyes, as if risking everything for a stranger was something to admire. "Your parents," White Owl said after a while. "They raised a brave son." The words landed like a warm blanket, wrapping around a heart that had not felt kindness in too long. Thunder growled outside, promising more rain. White Owl tried to stand, but his leg gave out. "I have to go," he insisted. "My people will think I am gone." Jasper shook his head. "Not in this storm. It is too risky." The river was rising, its angry churn visible through the cracked window. White Owl's eyes flashed with worry. "My granddaughter, Starlight. She sees things others cannot. If I do not return, she will suffer." Jasper did not fully understand, but he heard the fear in the old man's voice. Someone White Owl loved was at stake. "We will wait for dawn," Jasper decided. I will get you home then. White Owl gripped Jasper's shoulder, his hand surprisingly strong. What you have done for me cannot be repaid with words. Jasper did not know what that meant, but as he settled onto his worn blanket, a new feeling stirred inside him. Purpose. For the first time since his parents died, someone needed him. What he did not know was that 3 riders were already cutting through the storm, sent by White Owl's tribe to find their missing elder, carrying news that would upend everything. Hooves pounded through the rain, loud as the thunder itself. Jasper pressed his face to the window, watching 3 shadowy figures emerge from the downpour. They moved with purpose, their shapes sharp against the storm. White Owl struggled to his feet, his face tense. My people, he said, but they do not know you. Jasper's stomach tightened. Were these friends or trouble? A fist hammered the door. Open it, a voice barked. We know you are in there. Jasper stepped in front of White Owl, heart pounding but refusing to show fear. The door flew open before he could reach it. 3 warriors stood in the entrance, water dripping from their clothes, hands resting on knives. The leader, a young man with fierce eyes and faint traces of war paint, locked onto White Owl. Grandfather, he said, his voice a mix of relief and anger. We thought you were lost. Swift Hawk, White Owl replied, touching his chest. This boy saved me. The warrior's gaze shifted to Jasper, suspicion narrowing his eyes. What did you do to him, kid? Nothing, Jasper said, lifting his chin. I pulled him from the river. The warrior scoffed. White boys do not help our kind. White Owl snapped something in their language, sharp and commanding. The warriors exchanged looks, clearly caught off guard. Swifthawk's expression softened slightly. You risked your life for him? He asked Jasper. He was drowning, Jasper said simply. I could not leave him. White Owl spoke again, gesturing toward Jasper with pride. Grandfather says your heart is true, Swifthawk translated. He says the spirit sent you. Jasper did not know how to respond. He had just done what felt right. Swifthawk continued. Starlight, my sister, had a vision. She said grandfather would return with a gift from the river. White Owl placed a hand on Jasper's shoulder. Not a thing. A person. The warriors shared a look Jasper could not read. Something big was happening, something beyond his grasp. The storm is breaking, Swifthawk said. We ride at dawn. Where to? Jasper asked. Home, White Owl said. You come with us. Jasper's heart lurched. Leave the only place he had ever known? Follow strangers into the unknown? But the shack around him felt like a tomb, not a home. Maybe the unknown was better than this emptiness. Why me? He whispered. White Owl's eyes crinkled with a rare smile. Because Starlight sees the future, boy, and you are part of it. None of them knew that Starlight's latest vision held a secret that would reshape not just Jasper's path, but the fate of 2 peoples. Dawn broke crisp and cold. Jasper gathered his few belongings, a faded photo of his parents, his father's old pocket knife, the trusty tin mug. Everything else stayed behind, relics of a life that no longer fit. Swifthawk helped White Owl onto a horse, the elder wincing as his bad leg settled. Can you ride? Swifthawk asked Jasper. He shook his head. His parents had worked the land, not raised horses. You will ride with me, White Owl said, patting the space behind his saddle. The journey stretched through the morning, weaving through pine forests and open meadows that reached toward jagged peaks. Jasper had never ventured this far from the shack. The world felt vast, brimming with possibilities he had never dared to dream. White Owl spoke quietly as they rode, sharing stories of his people. Our tribe is small now, he said. Many young ones leave for the cities. Our ways fade, but Starlight keeps them alive. Swifthawk added, she holds our traditions close. Jasper's curiosity stirred. Tell me about her, he said. White Owl's voice softened. My granddaughter. Her parents are gone, her mother in childbirth, her father in a hunting mishap. She has seen visions since she was small. Sometimes they guide us, sometimes they warn us. What did she see about me? Jasper asked. White Owl paused, his gaze distant. A bridge, he said at last. Between worlds that no longer speak to each other. Jasper did not understand, but the words stirred something deep inside him, like a promise he was not ready to name. They crested a ridge, and the tribal camp came into view below a cluster of lodges circling a central fire. Children laughed and played. Women worked at daily tasks. It looked alive, whole, in a way that made Jasper's lonely shack feel like a ghost. As they descended, people stopped to stare at Jasper, their eyes curious, almost knowing, as if they had been waiting for him. A young woman stepped from the largest lodge, her movements graceful, her hair adorned with feathers that jingled softly. Her eyes, deep and ancient, locked onto Jasper's. "Starlight," White Owl said as they dismounted. She studied Jasper with an intensity that made his skin prickle. "You are the one I saw," she said, her English clear and deliberate. "3 months ago, I saw you pull grandfather from the river. But I saw more." She glanced at White Owl. "I saw you teaching our young ones, and them teaching yours." "I do not have kids," Jasper said, his face warming. Starlight smiled faintly. "Not now, but the spirits show what will be." The crowd around them grew, elders nodding, young men whispering, children peeking at the strange boy who rode in with their elder. A tall man emerged from the lodge, his presence silencing the murmurs. Chief Iron Elk, broad and commanding, carried an air of quiet authority. "Grandfather says you saved his life," he said to Jasper. "Anyone would have," Jasper replied. Starlight shook her head. "Number they would not. That is why you were chosen." Iron Elk addressed the tribe in their language, his words sparking excitement. "Tonight," he said in English, "we honor you with a ceremony." Jasper's stomach fluttered. "What kind?" Starlight's eyes glinted with something playful, the kind that changes everything. But even her visions could not foresee what would unfold when the sun set and the drums began. Darkness fell, and the tribe gathered around a roaring fire, sparks swirling into the starry sky. Jasper sat on a woven mat, feeling the weight of every gaze. The flames cast flickering shadows across weathered faces, giving the scene an almost magical feel. Iron Elk stood, his voice carrying over the crowd. "Tonight, we celebrate courage, not the kind that fights battles, but the kind that saves a stranger." Drums started, their rhythm pulsing through the ground. Into Jasper's bones, dancers moved, their steps weaving a tale he could not follow but somehow understood. Starlight leaned close, her breath warm against his ear. "They are dancing the river story, how you risked everything for grandfather." White Owl approached, carrying a bundle wrapped in soft hide. He knelt before Jasper, revealing a stunning necklace, beads of turquoise and silver gleaming in the firelight, centered by a carved bear with gemstone eyes. "This was my son's," White Owl said, his voice heavy. "Starlight's father. He died protecting others, just as you did for me." Jasper shook his head. "I cannot take something so precious." Starlight's voice was soft but firm. "You already have. By saving grandfather, you became our family. This just shows it." White Owl draped the necklace around Jasper's neck, its weight heavy with meaning. Iron Elk spoke again, his tone formal. "From now on, you are River's son, friend to our people. You have a place here as long as you choose." The tribe erupted in song, voices rising like the earth itself was singing. Children touched the necklace, giggling when Jasper smiled. Women brought him food, real, warm food, more than he had seen in months. For the first time since his parents died, Jasper felt like he belonged. But Starlight had grown quiet, staring into the fire with worry. "What is wrong?" Jasper asked. "The vision is shifting," she whispered. "I see angry men coming to take our land." "When?" Her eyes met his, filled with dread. "Tomorrow." The necklace suddenly felt like a burden, not a gift. Around them, the celebration continued, but Jasper's heart sank. The drums, once joyful, now sounded like a warning. Morning came with the sound of hoofbeats. Jasper woke to panicked voices and children's cries. Through the lodge's entrance, he saw people rushing to gather belongings, their movements quick and practiced. Starlight appeared beside him, her face grim. 12 riders, armed, carrying the territorial flag. Jasper stepped outside, spotting the dust cloud rising from the valley. Even from afar, he could see the glint of steel and the hard faces of men looking for trouble. Iron Elk was already organizing the tribe. "Take the children to the caves," he ordered. "Men, arm yourselves." White Owl shook his head, leaning on a new stick. "These are not warriors. They come to talk, but with threats." "How can you tell?" Swifthawk asked. Starlight pointed. "One carries a white flag, but it looked more like a gesture than a promise of peace. They want to force us out, White Owl said bitterly. Leave or be driven off. The riders reached the camp, fanning out in a line. Their leader, a man with a badge and cold eyes, nudged his horse forward. I am Marshal Cole, he called. Who speaks for you? Iron Elk stepped forward, his calm dignity making the marshal seem small. I am Chief Iron Elk. You are not welcome, but we will listen. Cole smirked. Got orders from the territory. This land's been sold to miners. You have 3 days to clear out. Iron Elk's voice stayed steady. This is our home. No one can sell what is not theirs. Cole's hand drifted toward his revolver. The law says otherwise. Chief. Jasper's blood froze as one rider, a man with a scarred face and cruel eyes, stared right at him. Look at that, the man sneered. A white kid playing native. You lost, boy? Before Jasper could speak, the man went on. I know you. You are Tom Kane's kid, from that dead farm upriver. Jasper's heart raced. How did this man know his father? Your old man owed money, the scarred man said, grinning. Gambling debts. Guess who's got to pay them now? The world spun. Jasper's father had been a farmer, not a gambler. But the man's confidence shook him. You come with us, the scarred man said. Work off the debt, and maybe we let these folks pack up quietly. Starlight's hand brushed Jasper's arm. White Owl stepped closer, protective. The tribe watched, waiting for Jasper's choice. His old life was pulling at him, demanding payment for sins he did not understand. But these people had given him a home, a name. The scarred man had miscalculated. He had given Jasper something worth fighting for. Marshal, Jasper said, his voice steady. You need to know the truth about my father. The scarred man's grin faded. My father never gambled, Jasper said, loud enough for all to hear. But someone's been using his name. The man's face darkened. Watch yourself, kid. Jasper pressed on, spinning a desperate lie. My father kept records. Every deal, every payment, hidden under our floorboards. I found them after he died. Doubt flickered in the scarred man's eyes. Marshal Cole tilted his head. Tom Kane was an honest man. Never heard of him owing anyone. Because he did not, Jasper said. Someone's been forging his name, cheating people. Shut up, the scarred man snapped, hand twitching toward his gun. Hank, Cole warned. Let the boy speak. So the man's name was Hank. Jasper stored that away. Check the records, Marshal. You will find debts in my father's name, all after he died, all in someone else's writing. Starlight stepped forward. This boy speaks truth. I see deceit in that man's heart. Hank sneered. Her tricks do not work here. But sweat beaded on his brow. Cole's eyes narrowed. Hank, you got papers for these debts? Hank fumbled in his saddlebag, his hands shaky. Iron Elk spoke up. This man came to us months ago, offering to buy our land. When we refused, he threatened us. That is not a crime, Cole said. No, White Owl replied, stepping forward. But stealing from the dead is. Cole's gaze sharpened. You saying Hank's running a scam? I am saying, White Owl said. Some men will do anything to take what is not theirs. Hank's face flushed with rage. They are lying. The kid owes, and these people need to leave. Show me the papers, Cole ordered. Hank froze. In that moment, Jasper saw fear in his eyes, guilty fear. Actually, Cole said, stepping off his horse, I am curious about something else. Word is, there is a forgery ring using dead men's names. You know anything about that, Hank? Hank's voice faltered. That has nothing to do with. Cole cut him off. I have been tracking forgers for months. They always use the same names. Jasper's hopes surged, then crashed as Hank's fear turned to rage. Enough, Hank roared, drawing his gun. He aimed at Jasper. The kid dies, and this ends. Time slowed. Jasper stared down the barrel, certain it was over. A shot echoed, but it was not Hank's. Swifthawk's arrow struck Hank's hand, sending the gun spinning into the dirt. Cole tackled Hank, pinning him down. Hank Larson, Cole said, snapping on cuffs. You are under arrest for forgery, fraud, and attempted murder. Hank thrashed, clutching his bleeding hand. The mining company still wants this land. Cole stood, brushing off his knees. When their partner goes down for forgery, those claims vanish fast. Cole turned to Iron Elk. Chief, I will report your land rights are valid. Any disputes go through the courts. Iron Elk nodded. Justice works when good men uphold it. Cole looked at Jasper. Kid, you got guts speaking up. Your father would be proud. As the riders dragged Hank away, the camp burst into cheers. Children ran back from the caves. Women smiled with relief. The danger had passed. White Owl approached Jasper, his face serious. You have a choice, River Son. The marshal can take you to town, find you a home with your own kind. Jasper looked at the tribe people who had welcomed him, stood by him, given him a name. These are my people, he said, touching the necklace. Starlight's eyes shone with tears. The vision is fulfilled. You are the bridge. Iron Elk placed a hand on Jasper's shoulder. You will learn our ways, and we will learn yours. Together, we are stronger. The tribe prepared another ceremony, not of farewell, but of belonging. Jasper helped White Owl settle by the fire, the elder's leg finally mending. Do you regret leaving your old life? White Owl asked. Jasper thought of the shack, the endless hunger, the loneliness. Then he looked at the camp, alive with laughter and purpose. No, he said. I was lost before you. You did not just save me from the river, you saved me from myself. White Owl smiled. The river takes, and the river gives. Today, it gave us both a new start. That night, as the fires burned and drums told stories of courage, Jasper felt his heart mend. He was no longer the orphan lost to shadows. He was River Son, a bridge between worlds, a son of two peoples. Love, he learned, grows when shared, and courage thrives when it lifts others. If you are watching this, grab your phone and hit follow or share. Your support keeps stories like Jasper's alive, stories of heart and hope that remind us what family really means.